Hello.
Space Coconut.
Hey, Coconut.
There we go. All right, we got some live stuff happening.
Cool. Nice
Okay.
to finally talk to you in person, and I'm glad
Yeah.
you're recovering well from your root canal. I know
Oh
those suck.
man. Yeah, it does. But I can drink cold things now without dying, so it's amazing.
Yeah,
All right.
I remember when I had to get my wisdom teeth removed, and also another surgery at the back of my throat. That's never fun.
Yeah, I had 4 wisdom teeth pulled in the Marine Corps when I was in boot camp. So while that wasn't fun, yeah, it really could have been worse. All right,
Yeah.
so let's start. Okay, so go ahead and introduce yourself. Give us a little bit about you. It can be as personal or as impersonal as you like. And then tell us what you want to talk about. There aren't very, yeah, we're not. But this is really, really loose. I haven't done this before, so we'll just play it by ear. All right.
Yeah, sure. I'll keep it pretty brief since I know my time's limited. I'm primarily an Xbox gamer. I know, console gamers.
Shame on you.
But I know, shame on me. Yeah, I primarily play Halo, Gears of War, Dead by Daylight, and Sea of Thieves. No particular order there. And if you hear meowing, that's my cat. But yeah, I'm usually pretty busy with my career, which is as a mechanical design engineer. So that
Ooh.
keeps me pretty busy.
That sounds kind of cool. So, what is it that you do? A mechanical engineer. What is it that you do?
Well, I design stuff for the U.S. military, so I can't really talk about it.
That's actually pretty cool. Right on. All right.
Yeah.
So, in regards to Dead by Daylight, what can you talk about?
Okay, so specifically, I wanted to discuss the major gameplay balance issues that I constantly see at all ranks. Because not only am I in red rank, both survivor and killer, not that that really means anything, but also I've been at the low ranks because I only started playing this game about a year ago. I spent a lot of time learning the ropes and doing research and stuff, and I've seen other people play the game at low ranks and see the struggles they go through with. And yeah, it seems like there's a lot of consistencies and a lot of differences, but I think I've developed solutions to the 3 major issues, those being gen speeds, camping, and tunneling
Okay.
that I'd like to discuss.
All right. So, I'm just off the top of my head. What was the first one again?
Gen speeds.
Okay. So, I'll just give you my thoughts on. Actually, no. Go ahead. Go ahead with your three things there.
Okay, so gen speeds is primarily an issue at red ranks. I'm primarily killer main, so I definitely know that that is true. But also, I know survivors a lot of the times, like high ranked survivors, they say that it's boring to sit on a gen for so long. So my proposed solution would be essentially basically up the interaction between killers and survivors and reduce the amount of time that survivors spend on gens by, instead of them immediately being able to work on them, they essentially go up to a gen that hasn't been worked on yet. They inspect it for like a short animation that plays for 3 seconds, at which point they gain perma aura on a missing part for that gen that's somewhere on the other side of the map. And they have to cross the map, grab that part, and bring it back to that gen. When they're carrying the part, they can see the aura of the gen it belongs to. And essentially, it will bring more interaction between the killer and survivor. And if they get hit, they drop the part, a lot like Franklin's currently works with items, but just by default. And they'd have to go back and pick it up at that spot where it dropped later.
So, that solution's been thrown around on the forums quite a bit. There's a lot of people who say that, kind of like Friday the 13th, you should go and get a part and then come back and take it to the gen. And while that does add another objective for the survivors to do, it might actually be too abusable. Recently, with the twins, what I'm going to start doing, which is really, really mean, is using Tinkerer with them. And Charlotte can stand on the item after it's dropped, and then you can switch to Victor and harass the survivors, and they won't be able to recover the item. And I mean, just that by itself is pretty abusable. But if the part was for a generator, it might be pretty difficult to balance that. The other aspect of it is that if the devs are lazy, and if they were to do this, they'd have to kind of revamp a lot of perks, a lot of powers. The map design would probably have to change a little bit to well, maybe not. Maybe I'm reaching with that. But in order to implement these things, the generators would have to change. Perks that are involved with the generators would have to change. There's so much that would have to change. It's not something likely to happen just because the effort involved in it. But you're absolutely right. Everybody agrees that there is something with the gen times that is an issue. But I actually agree with the devs in this point, where making the gen times longer or giving them more to do in regards to gen, because by adding an objective, you're adding to the times for the generator. Even if they're not standing there, you're adding to that time, and it's not a good idea because of everything else.
That goes into what I was saying before, though, because I was saying survivors don't like spending so long on gens, but gen speed's already too much. If you add a mechanic like that, you could take 20 seconds off the gen time, so take from 80 to 60 seconds.
Okay.
And also maybe make it so when the killer kicks it, it drops by like a little amount, by like 5%. It normally just starts regressing, but give it like a little like micro Pop Goes the Weasel effect.
Then there's also the where survivors can touch a gen and killers have to interact with it. I've never liked that. But I had this idea in regards to gens a while ago, and I've only brought it up here once or twice. But what if, like, you're in a group of 4 survivors, and you know how Michael can only stalk a single survivor for a certain amount?
Mm-hmm.
What if survivors can only repair a gen a certain amount, and that they would have to rely on their teammates to finish off the gen? So, like,
You'd
you'd
have to limit regression if you did that.
Well,
because if there's
survivors,
infinite regression, you could get into a point where no one could possibly repair gen even more, and it would be a stalemate.
Not a hard limit. So, like, if the regression happened, right? Okay, so I'm gonna start at the beginning. So a survivor can only repair a gen up to like 70%. A single survivor, and another survivor has to come and top it off. If the killer comes in and regresses, well, now that I'm thinking about it, this aspect of it would probably be too much work also, but the survivor could go back to that gen and top off their generator by recouping the stuff that they've taken off. I don't know.
Could see that working.
Gen times are a pain in the ass, and yeah, I'm not sure what they're gonna do. Do
you want to jump into the other issue?
Yeah, I was going to.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, real briefly, this is more. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, don't feel rushed. You're not on a strict time limit. We're just talking about these topics, so don't feel like you have to get through it in a certain amount of time.
Okay, fair enough. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the other issue, and this is more of an issue at low ranks, but even at high ranks, camping and tunneling happens, they're effective. And anytime someone argues, oh, well, just do gens while your teammates, having a bad time getting face camped on the hook, I feel like that's a bit of a disingenuous argument. So I thought of a really good solution for this, and it's basically a carrot and stick for the killer for both camping and tunneling that benefits the killer if he doesn't do those things, but also punishes the survivors if he, doesn't face camp or tunnel or anything like that. So essentially what it would be is if the killer is within a certain physical distance of the hook, let's say like 20 meters. Now that might be too much, like 15 to 20 meters, somewhere around there. Essentially, and if the killer's not in a chase, the struggle timer for the survivor on the hook will be paused.
I
But if the killer is in a chase, like some teammates looping him around the guy on the hook, it won't be paused. It'll keep going down. And that's the stick to kind of prod the killer away from the person on the hook. And the carrot
well,
is sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think there's a perk that does that. If you're on the hook and a survivor's within a certain area, if the killer is there also. Oh no, the survivor pauses the timer. I know there's a mechanic in place already.
The Steve perk, right?
Mm.
Yeah, so essentially this would be the killer if he's too close to the hook and not in a chase, i.e., the survivor team's not, being stupid and looping around their dying teammate, which would keep the timer going. That would be a good incentive for the killer not to like super proxy or face camp. But again, that's the stick in this scenario. The carrot would be a new status effect that me and the people I play with have been referring to as the pierced status effect that we've come up with. And essentially what that would be is if the killer hooks a different survivor on a different hook than the previous instance. So, survivor 1 gets hooked on hook 1, and then he goes and hooks survivor 2 on a hook 2. Survivor 2 gets this pierced status effect, which essentially will slow down their action speeds for a certain amount of time after they get unhooked. So it benefits the killer by slowing down objective speed.
And I see what you're saying. So the idea is similar to the Legion's old add-ons, where he can do his frenzy, hit one survivor, and then he can choose to focus on that survivor, or he can frenzy to a new survivor, hit them, and then gain the benefit of the other add-on. I see what you're saying, and while I'm not sure, while I'm not sure about exactly what would happen or what should be done in regards for killers to be incentivized, whatever it is, that's like exactly what you're saying. Killers need to be incentivized one way or another to leave the hook, to not tunnel or not camp a survivor. The problem, it comes with just people, people choosing to camp or choosing to tunnel. And, people are D-bags. So even if you give them an incentive, it's not gonna get rid of that kind of behavior.
I mean, if they are literally standing there and the timer's paused, they can't do anything. They're basically throwing the game for nothing, because the survivor team will eventually come over and do the little unhook dance and eventually get the survivor off the hook one way or another. And, then it's up to whether or not that survivor has DS or whatever if they survive.
Sure. But how much fun is that survivor having on the hook? I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about that. But something does need to be done, because I mean, as much as I remember camping, like when I was first learning how to play, and when you could actually face camp. Players these days, they don't know what real face camping is, and it was very good that it was gone, and the camping that we have now isn't as bad as it used to be, but it's still an issue that needs to be taken care of.
Because a lot of new players, I've seen it absolutely destroys their initial experience in the game, because it happens like every other game or more in new games, and it really turns new players away, which is unhealthy for the player base.
Especially because the killers who are new, don't have the experience to not face camp, and they want to win per se. They want to do well. So, if they got that one survivor on the hook, they want to make sure that they go. And that new player experience as a whole, that whole thing, it's a whole different problem. But yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like those would be pretty not simple, because some of them might have complex mechanics, but it definitely, after much discussion with the people I play with, those would probably be, in our opinion, the best solutions. And that's pretty much what I wanted to discuss and mull over with you, see what you think. And hopefully get some other people in the coconut community talking about as well.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. And usually, what ends up happening with things like this is the comments of the video when we go when I put it up that way. There'll be a lot of people giving constructive criticism about the solution, and as a community, it might come up with something even better. So yeah.
All right, yeah, I'll be sure to look forward to that video, and I'll try to respond in the comments to people and open up the discussion.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So let's see here.
Before I head out, can we play that make your own perk game where I propose a solution, we do the feedback thing? Because
sure,
I've had one rolling over. Cool. So despite me being a killer main, I actually came up with a survivor perk that I think would be awesome, because we haven't gotten an exhaustion perk in a while. And I'd love to see an exhaustion perk where if you're running, much like Dead Hard, you press a button to activate this, and essentially it'll send out like a false scratch mark trail like 15 meters in front of you. So like you can use that as a way to lose chase. So you go around a corner, you activate it, it sends out a trail, and the killer thinks you went one way, and really you're just hiding around that corner, but it exhausts you.
I like the idea, but I think the locker one that they created recently, that one's been doing that to me a lot because I'm not used to it. The survivors will run past the locker, and you'll get the sound that they went into a locker, and the scratch marks will end, and then they didn't actually go through the locker. I think that's very similar to what you're talking about. So something like that may not even need an exhaustion thing, but a timer would be okay. And then survivors in the middle of a chase, like you said, like if I'm breaking a pallet, I usually listen or pay attention to where the survivor is trying to go. They're trying to mislead me one way or the other, and they go one way, activate that perk, and I think they went the other way. So I like the idea. I don't think it needs to be an exhaustion perk though.
I wouldn't argue with that. That would mean I'd get to use it more. I just figured killers would be really annoyed with that. Like, oh my god, I'm following that stupid perk, that fake trail, and now I've lost the whole chase because that. I was like, yeah, that might be a bit powerful. It might need to be exhaustion, but if it's just on a timer, I'd be cool with that.
Well, here's the thing: is that the survivor outsmarting me is very different than me downing a survivor, picking them up, and them just getting off of my shoulder. Being outplayed, that adds something to the chase, and it makes it very interesting. And then it's kind of like, oh, okay, you got me. Now I got to make sure you die, or I'll be ready for that the next time. It's just like Dead Hard. If they use it once, then you can kind of be wary of when they'll do it again. Corvus is talking about he loves Dance with Me, so I think that's in the same realm. So these distracting perks and this misleading perks, I do like them. Even if they do lose me chases, they are better because the counterplay exists in the mind of the killer. In that case, I may or may not fall for that kind of a perk, and that's the risk. It's a good idea. I like that a lot.
But yeah, giving it a Dance with Me effect would be pretty cool too. That would make it even more powerful though. So, if they add something like that, I'd be excited to see what they do with that.
Yeah. Well, that was...
And as my closing thoughts, how cool would a killer that's, infested with insects, like they do a lot of killers that like prey on different phobias. How cool would it be to have one that's like infested with a bunch of different insects, and you can have outfits that they're infected with like a specific insect, and they use like insects as their power?
That would be pretty cool. I think everybody would like Shino in as a killer in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that I thought of when you mentioned that. But it is an interesting idea, and the creepy crawliness of it, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised they haven't added something like that already. I mean, I'm a huge fan of licensed chapters, but as far as original chapters go, that's one I would definitely be excited for.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and stop there, and we'll see how this one does, and we'll go from there. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us, Thunder.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, we'll catch you later.
All right. Keep up the great work. Take it easy.